Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 best albums by Kris Kristofferson. Why? Well, first of all, he's a brilliant musician, and I think it's really weird that I haven't been talking about him at all on this channel while he started my love for country music. Another thing is, this week he will be turning 88, so this man's birthday, and it's so bizarre that the Outlaw Country, Willie Nelson recently turned 90 or even 91. Kris Kristofferson, 88. These big giants are still among us, so let's praise them while they're here. And without further ado, let's kick off the top 5 with best Kris Kristofferson albums. And I'm going to kick off with this one. Jesus Was a Capricorn. Now, this is an interesting album. It was the second one in which Kris Kristofferson changed his, how can I say, his style a bit. The production became, well, the word poppy may not be the right word, but they got more instruments there. It was a bigger, more stylized production. But I don't think that his writing was influenced by that. As a matter of fact, the song Jesus Was a Capricorn, ode to John Prine. That's already an interesting element there. He's paying his tribute to John Prine. And that influence, the influence of John Prine and the influence of Mickey Newbury, it's very noticeable. Kris Kristofferson is not trying to please a very wide audience or anything like that. He's trying to articulate the nuances of his surroundings as well as possible. And I think that's his power. This song also contains the lyric, "Everybody needs someone to look down upon." And it's often interpreted as if he's talking about the response to his third album, Border Lord. Uh, it had bad critical response. I don't understand why, and I'll talk about that later in this video. So he keeps a sharp eye. He's not letting go. This album has a lot of collaborations with Rita Coolidge. I'm not completely sure, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they were in a relationship, the two of them. It's got a lot of pictures of them together. Yeah, look at it. So I'm usually not a fan of that, but it works on this one. It's a very good album. On number 5, Jesus Was a Capricorn. On number 4, another collaboration, but a different kind of collaboration. It's The Highwayman. Now, this is interesting because at a certain time in 1985, Kris Kristofferson joined a group of, let's call it, the elite outlaws. We're talking about Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and Kris Kristofferson teaming up. That is just an amazing collaboration. Now, the result is not as dark as we know from all these artists individual, though they are not necessarily dark artists, but they do have rough edges. This is much more an 80s polished sound, but that doesn't really matter because listening to this album, you do get the feeling that they are all quite happy to be together and that they're having fun. And that idea of these big country musicians having fun on an album, it's amazing. It's got some incredible songs. It's got Big River, for example. I love Highwayman, the title track. Great album. On number 4, Highwayman. On number 3, I already mentioned this album just a bit earlier. I'll get it out of its sleeve because it's more beautiful. Border Lord. Put down at the time because Kris Kristofferson was changing his sound. You can hear here that there's a band, that there are some lighter tones, but lyric wise, he remains very true. I really love the sound of his voice here. Again, there's certain lightness, but it's not forced. I'd like to read the quote of Kris Kristofferson here on the back. "We put a lot of road between this album and the last one, back and forth across the US of A and Canada. hitting most of the high spots and all the lows, cruising pretty close to crazy, but somehow keeping it together enough to keep from crossing that border. We made some friends and left some enemies along the way, and I guess we'll continue. It all adds up to miles of memories, and like Satchel Paige said, don't look back, something might be gaining on you. Don't look back, something might be gaining on you. Now, I'm definitely looking back in this video, and I'm going to talk about the albums before this one, but it is good, and it should not be put in the light of him leaving his old style behind. He is developing, he is maintaining an interesting sound, creating a new interesting sound, and he remains an incredible songwriter and lyricist. On number 3, Waterlord. On number 2, and I'm so sad that I do not have an original of this, but this album was re-released in the Netherlands as Me and Bobby McGee with a horrible cover. Sorry about that, but the original is just called Kristofferson. His first album, his self-titled debut. Now, this is brilliant songwriting territory. It starts with Blame It on the Stones. I love the playfulness in that tune. But all these songs here, Me and Bobby McGee, which was covered by Janis Joplin. And as a matter of fact, Kris Kristofferson didn't know she was covering it. It was after her death that it was released, and he was sitting in a bar and he heard it for the first time. Now, Janis Joplin and Kris Kristofferson were briefly dating together, so it was a very bizarre way to find out that she actually covered your song. Might be one of her last. It's yeah, the word interesting pops to mind, but that might not be the right word. Help Me Make It Through the Night. What a masterpiece of songwriting. I mean, just take a look at the lyrics and then the way he pronounces it. A lot of people have stated that live he's not a good vocalist. I think he's live a brilliant vocalist. He is so under control of the frequencies. Sounds strange, but he has a certain there's emotion which he is trying to control, and you can hear it in the vibration of those frequencies. It's just incredible, and he really acts these songs out very well. He's also a brilliant actor, as a matter of fact. I heard of him before I listened to his music of him as an actor. I saw him in films. There are more great songs here. Sunday Morning Coming Down, which was covered by Johnny Cash. Have I told the story of Johnny Cash and Kris Kristofferson yet? Kris Kristofferson started off as a cleaner, not the right word. I don't know the English word. Somebody who's walking around the building, cleaning, keeping He started off in Nashville, and his first day on the job, he had to empty the cigarette butts in the Blonde on Blonde sessions by Bob Dylan. And there in the studios, he got acquainted with Johnny Cash, and he said, "I want to record an album." To which Johnny Cash said, "You gotta sober up first." Now, Johnny Cash is lower. You gotta sober up first, man. So he got sober. Kris Kristofferson got sober, and to prove how sober he was, he got a helicopter, because he used to be a helicopter pilot in the army, and landed it in the backyard of Johnny Cash just to prove, "Look at me, I'm sober." As a matter of fact, Johnny Cash wasn't at home, so that's the bitter ending of the story. But Johnny Cash heard about it, and he got him this record deal, so he could make this album. And so Johnny Cash could record Sunday Morning Coming Down. And I believe Kris Kristofferson, very early on in his career, already got awarded Best Song at the Country Award ceremony that year. Masterpiece of songwriting. So why is this album not on the number 1 spot? Because I think he was even better on this one. This is pure brilliance. Again, the Silver-Tongued Devil and I. This also is the first Kris Kristofferson album that I listened to. And it was a very strange experience, because I knew him as an actor, and I hadn't listened to country at all. But at Waterloo Square, a record salesman, Ruud. He, because you might be watching this, Ruud, he told me, you gotta give it a shot because he's a very good lyricist. And I thought, am I gonna try country? Because here in the Netherlands, very few people listen to country. It's a shame. It's not as big here as in the United States. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. And my mind just blew. In a certain way, I heard real typical country here, and I was at unease with that. But I also heard the most beautiful, brilliant voice, being as sincere can be, with incredible lyrics, opening with the silver-tongued devil and I, clearly battling his demons. He's the devil. And the way his voice smoothly rolls around the bottom while confronting himself with these lyrics, it's just gorgeous. Jody and the Kid, it's an incredible song. Billy D, Good Christian Soldier, Breakdown. I love the first side, then side 2 came. Loving her was easier than anything I'll ever do again. This is an incredible song. Then The Taker, it's good. When I Loved Her is brilliant. Then The Pilgrim, chapter 33, a masterpiece. And then he ends off with one of the most gorgeous, gorgeous songs I've ever heard. Epitaph, Black and Blue, which is him singing about his relationship with Janis Joplin, or at least about Janis Joplin. And it's heartbreaking. It has this, it balances between intimate and epic, and it's both at the same time. First thing I'm gonna do when I'm finishing this video is I'm gonna play that song again. It is so good. I'm gonna end this video with another quote of Kris Kristofferson's at the back. Call these echoes of the going ups and the coming downs, walking pneumonia and run-of-the-mill madness, colored with guilt, pride, and a fake sense of despair. There you got Kris Kristofferson. So I'm curious, do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.